Welcome to episode 802 of Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show, including the Patreon page and the merchandise store over at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. And as always, support is never expected but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. Please check out the links to friends of the show in every episode description. And the two that will always be there are, the links that will always be there are the ones for Jen, the Arcane Observer, and her channel, she's also the co-host of this show on the weekends. And then Michael Strange and Trouble Minds Radio, the show, and then the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear my show and many other great shows over there 24/7 online. So let's get to these stories here. Also, a reminder for anyone that is interested, that is listening live to this as I'm recording it, I am trying something out here with these shows, to where if you want to call in to comment on a true story I read, or to share one of your own experiences, you're welcome to do that, and we will fit you in, and if we have time. So let me get to these back to this document here, and thank you all again for being here and listening in. And last weekend was a lot of fun, the episode 800, and then the Patreon show after that, the Trick or Treat show. Really enjoyed that, and big part of that was everyone that was able to make it to those shows. So back to the document here, and let me see. Okay, this one says, I was driving to work early in the morning in Texas during heavy rain and darkness. My car's brights were not working, making visibility poor. I saw a creature emerge from the forest on one side of a back country road. The creature was on 4 legs, light gray or dirty white in color, and almost 3.5 to 4 feet tall, while on all fours. At first, I thought it might be a dog or very hairy wolf due to its color and size. The animal had scraggly hair, similar in texture to an old English sheepdog, with very lanky, thin limbs. Its face was not clearly defined, mostly obscured by hair. The creature appeared to be injured or moving awkwardly, almost dragging itself across the road. I nearly hit it and had to swerve to avoid a collision. As I passed, I saw the creature reach the other side of the road, where it stood up on 2 legs. Once upright, it appeared very tall, at least 6.5 feet, possibly taller. The creature then walked on 2 legs back into the forest. I can barely believe what I saw. I wish I had a dash cam at the time. I'm thinking of getting one now. What was it that I saw? And that's where that one ends. What's really amazing to me is we just did a show over the weekend on dogmen, and the weekend before that we did a show on werewolves. And I forgot that I had the story, because I usually find these and then they don't get used on the same day I find them, these true stories. They get used as much as a week or maybe even 2 weeks later. So I totally forgot I had that one in there. But funny timing there. Um, it sounds like whatever that was good size, 3.5 to 4 feet on all fours. And then I'm not an expert on animal sizes though, so if that's normal, then that's fine. But then it got up on 2 legs and walked into the woods. So that is, was that a werewolf? Was that a dog man of some kind? Sounds more like a werewolf. But again, there's seem to be crossovers in what people think of as one or the other. Either way, seems like some kind of creature, and that this person encountered. This is why I love doing these shows, because we hear about throughout time and folklore and mythology and ancient reports of people's experiences. We hear about things like this. We hear about creatures. We hear about ghosts. We hear about lights in the sky, um, all other things, and we hear about them in the past. But these things still appear to be happening to people to this day. All these things that many of us has probably heard and read about, and listened to shows about, or watch TV shows about, or whatever, movies. These things do not appear to have stopped happening, and that's why I think it's important to find these accounts and share these reports of these experiences to show that these are things that seem to still be happening to people. And as I always say, I have a hard time with just writing anyone off when it comes to their experience, because so many people have had so many experiences, again, throughout time. Even if we want to say there are some that are mistaken, some that exaggerated, some that made it up, I don't think that can account for every single experience out there. I'm not even sure how to say that word there, Eric, but yeah, Leucrotta. But yeah, so really amazing that these things still happen, and almost everywhere, on the roads and near forests, near cities. Leucrotta, animal of Greek and Roman legend. Wow. See, there you have right there an example in the chat here. I'm looking at this link that Eric shared. And I'll just read the summary of the beginning part here. In ancient Greek and Roman legend, the Leucrotta was a fantastic creature with the body of a stag, the neck of a lion, cloven hooves, and a wide mouth with a sharp, bony ridge in place of teeth. It had the ability to imitate the voices of man to lure prey, and that's just from the initial paragraph there from the link that Eric shared in the chat. So that's pretty amazing. So yeah, who knows? So there's just so many of these reports of all manner of creatures out there. So let's move on to the next true story here. And okay, where was I at? Okay, there we go. This one says, after work the other day, I visited M at their place. While using the bathroom, I heard what sounded like a woman's voice coming from the other side of the wall. The voice spoke 3 or 4 full sentences, but the words were garbled and incomprehensible. M has roommates, including a female, but all roommates were out of town that night. So only M and myself were in the house. I considered the possibility that M was on the phone or had turned on the radio, but M denied both. M confirmed he also heard the voice and initially thought it was me. The house is isolated with no nearby neighbors, ruling out the possibility of overhearing someone outside. M suggested his house might be haunted and that I had just heard a ghost. After considering all logical explanations, I'm starting to agree with M's ghost theory. And that's where that one ends. And voices are tricky in a way, and I don't mean that as in it didn't happen. I mean that as in the way sound works, the way it does or doesn't travel. And so, but I do like how the writer there tried to rule out all the possibilities. I think it's a good thing that they had verification that they weren't the only person to hear the voice. So, but yeah, my weirdest experience with a voice that I couldn't really trace was, or figure out what they were saying was the first time I heard one. And this is part of a larger story that I've told before many times. But in this training center that I went to for people with low vision or no vision, and they had this one set of rooms, couple of rooms that was set up to look like an apartment. And this training center was to help people learn how to live independently as much as possible. And so this first night that I was in this room, I laid down on the bed, and at the time, I had a weird feeling from the room anyway. And even though I normally like to sleep in the dark, I didn't feel right about turning the lights off completely. So I had the light turned down as far as it would go because it was on one of those dimmer dial things, and which also made it creepier almost in a way, which is kind of funny. I was trying to avoid that, and it might have made it worse. But I was laying in the bed, tired out from moving all my stuff across this big building, and I started hearing this woman's voice in the apartment. And she was talking, but I could not understand what she was saying. And I was falling asleep, but every time I heard it as I was falling asleep, I woke up and it stopped. And this happened like 3 times. If that had been the end of all that, I could have written it off as my mind playing tricks on me. But of course, as I've shared in other shows, that was not the last time I heard that voice. And when I heard it again, I heard it on an old-fashioned phone, and a friend heard it too. And then over a decade later, I heard it on a cell phone recorded, and a friend had heard it too and had gotten the recording on his phone. So I don't know, but it sounds like it's possible that the writer there had an experience with someone there talking, whether it was a spirit, whether it wasn't. I always like to consider the idea of time being weird, as we always say in the show, acting in weird ways, having overlaps, where you hear voices. Sometimes people even hear voices of people they know in their own home, in the home of the people that they hear, and they're not there. But again, I always wonder with that, especially when it's not directly talking to them or just talking, and there doesn't seem to be a reason for it. I wonder if there's just some weird time anomaly going on there, happening in those cases. So let's see if we can get at least 2 more in here, 2 more stories here in the show before we have to stop. Okay, this next one is short, but usually when they're short, that means there's a detail in there that I'm really surprised to find. So this one says, my wife and I live in the Philippines. We are currently staying with my wife's sister in a single room attached to her house. We have been living here for about a month. My wife has an ability to sense supernatural or unusual things. One night, while we were asleep, my wife woke up and saw a lady dressed in white walk across our room and then disappear. The experience did not bring any bad feelings or fear. I wonder if the apparition might have been a spirit just passing by, possibly from the World War II era. This location is near the site where General MacArthur landed during World War II, which could be relevant to the sighting. And that's where that one ends. And I don't know about all that, but women in white are a really common. They're a type of apparition at this point that I've heard and read a lot about over the years. So it's really amazing, and they're just seen all over the world. That doesn't seem to be a limit to where they're seen. So as for someone just passing through, I definitely think that's a possibility. I'm reminded of a case where I think that happened in my apartment here, where not long after I moved in, I was here in the back of the apartment playing solitaire on a older PC. This was like 17 years ago, almost 18 years ago, and I was just sitting there listening to. I don't even think I was listening to anything at the time. I was just playing solitaire on a PC, and I heard voices. That's right, because I wouldn't have heard the voices so well. There'd been music. I heard these two voices, a man and a woman, and and Windows 92 SE. Could have been. And I heard their voices. That's from Eric there in the chat. I heard these voices of a couple, an older couple, like they were just having a pleasant conversation. And the sound of these voices, just the voices, no footsteps, nothing else, no other sounds, moved through the apartment from the front and out through the back. And I tracked it. I was looking at the space where I was hearing the voices coming from. But of course, I did not see anything. And it was like they just weren't even aware that there was anyone else around them, or that they were walking through an apartment, even possibly. And they walked out through the back, and they were heading toward a nursing home that's nearby. But it was just the sound, and they were not trying to scare me. They were, as far as I could tell, there was no feelings attached to them. It was just like a couple just going somewhere, and to them, maybe the apartment building that I'm in did not exist, and they just walked right on through. But so yeah, that was an amazing experience because of just the fact that, because I'm legally blind, but I can see somewhat, and this was before I had any light sensitivity issues. So I had lights on in my apartment, so it wasn't like it was all dark, and I could have missed them. So it was pretty amazing to have that experience. But so yeah, let's move on to at least one more story here, and go from there. This one says, I inherited my grandmother's old farmhouse after she passed. The house is isolated and in poor condition. My family moved away from the farmhouse when I was about 5 years old, without explanation. I returned alone to clean up the farmhouse. On my first night there, I heard footsteps coming from the attic, but found nothing when I checked. The next night, I heard whispering from the attic, which stopped immediately once I opened the attic door. The night after that, I discovered an old family photo hidden behind a dresser. The photo showed myself my parents, and an unknown pale-faced person with a strange smile standing behind us. I called my mom to ask about the photo. She became silent and then quietly said, "We never locked the attic. We just never opened it." The phone call abruptly disconnected. After the call dropped, I heard the footsteps in the attic again. And that's where that one ends. Now, yes, that does sound like it could be something from a movie. However, I've read similar accounts over the years. And if there was, again, a presence there that was trying to get the person's attention, these things could have been done, possibly. We know that devices can be messed with, can be affected by energy. And through so many accounts I've read and heard over the years, spirits or other non-physical entities seem to be able to affect devices of all kinds. So I really wonder, again, if or what this figure was behind the family. It's odd that the mother didn't know or say, unless she did know and she didn't want to say. The other possibility there, to me, is something I've heard of over the years where people take pictures and they change over time. Or they'll capture a figure and it'll be there and then it'll fade away, or they won't capture anything and then over time a figure will appear or something will appear on the photo. So all these things in that account, they do not surprise me. And this is one of those rare cases where even though it seems like a movie, these are all things I've heard about people experiencing before. Also, the photo reminds me of, and I've told the story before, but as I always say, and as I always still do anyway, when I was a kid and my cousins and I went exploring up on the second floor of my grandparents' house, because hardly anyone ever really went up there unless they were staying there for whatever reason, and living there for a little while or staying over. And we went into this there was 2 rooms, one small and one big room. And we found this desk and we're looking around. Probably shouldn't have been looking around, but we weren't told that we couldn't, so who knows. But there was a desk there and one of my cousins opened the drawer and happened to look in there and saw a photo of people that clearly looked to be related to us. We were related to them somehow. And there was an old man in the picture. And we were looking at the picture, trying to just asking each other, "Do you recognize any of these people?" No, don't know anyone there. And as we were talking, we were looking at this picture. The old man on the picture, the image of the old man, turned his head to look at us. And his eyes turned red. And we dropped that picture and back in that drawer, and we never went back up to that room again. I didn't until many years later. And I still don't know what that was. Some entity, some spirit affecting our minds somehow. Maybe chasing us out of there for some reason. I don't know. But that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening. And I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.